Joe had a beautiful baritone rolling out like an opera singer. It was coming from his belly.
Big Joe Turner, what a voice. He would hit that top note, and he would run 30 minutes. So long, there was a tune there, and they were swinging. Let it roll, let it roll, let it roll all night long.
Shake, Rattle, and Roll is just one of the great songs of all time. Big Joe Turner really brings home the relationship between jazz and blues and the new sound of R&B.
As I passed by a real fine hotel, a chick walked out. She sure looked swell. I gave the eye and started to carry on. When a Cadillac cruised up and swish, she was gone.
More and more rhythm and blues artists were being snapped up by the record companies. One of them was Ray Charles. It Should Have Been Me, with its laid-back vocal style and sexual swagger, was the fruit of his apprenticeship on the road working with singers like Ruth Brown and Joe Turner.
A little later on,
Ray loved Joe Turner, and Ray loved Ruth Brown. These are the people he was riding in cars with. These are the people he was sharing rooming houses with. You know, their record would come out and would do better than his, because a lot of his first records died, didn't do well at all. Ruth Brown was constantly beating Ray Charles all the time. So, well, now, what could he do to his records to beat Ruth Brown? It was a very competitive world in the best possible way.
But Atlantic knew what they were doing when they signed Ray Charles.
A booking agent who booked our rhythm and blues artists said, "Oh my gosh, said you rave about this Ray Charles." Says we can't book him as a headliner because his records don't sell enough. So we bought his contract. I would have paid anything to get him.
it should have been me.
Ray Charles may have got a deal with Atlantic Records, but a career in music still meant endless touring and one-night stands all across America. There were compensations, though. Rhythm and blues was feel-good music in which both performer and audience would forget their inhibitions and lose themselves in the rhythm.
They're making money, going from town to town. They were stars, and that sexual shenanigans were pretty intense. My impression is they all had a very good time.
The musicians who provided the beat were becoming sex symbols, and Ray Charles was no exception.
All artists, when they would travel across country, they would have the women shouting and screaming for them. And it was a popular, fashionable thing. It was something that was happening, and he had his share.
He was the sexiest blind man that you would ever want to see.
Despite his blindness, Ray had a foolproof method of selecting the most attractive women.
He used to always grab them, like you introduce him to them, he would grab them by their hand, and he would go up their hand to their wrist, right up above their wrist, and he would feel their wrist. I don't know what he was feeling for in there. He didn't have to do that to me because I was fat. I was looking, I said, wonder what it was he was feeling. But he would go like that. I took a girl over there, was a beautician, and she was really fine. And he said, "Hey, baby, how you doing? Hey, what's your name?" You know, and I said, there you go again with that arm.
Baby, if you don't want me, why don't you let me go?
Although rhythm and blues was primarily aimed at the black audience, young white music lovers were beginning to discover the new sound too. As word spread through white America of the excitement of the rhythm and blues circuit, the authorities found segregation more difficult to enforce.
They didn't know what to do with the music, but the whites knew that they liked it. They thought it caused commotion between blacks and whites because, see, the heart of that music, see, it doesn't have color. It doesn't have any racial barrier.
Some states took a different view and employed every possible measure to keep the races apart.
They had a rope between the races, a rope, something like a clothesline. And there would be a card that said colored, white on each side. And as long as that rope was okay, you could dance.
And sometime the whites would just move the rope and come on over. You know, they would come in where the fun was.
And the police would come out and stop the dance and say, oh no, this is out, we'll not do this. You cannot dance together, you know. A couple of times I went to jail behind that because I wouldn't stop singing.
It's hard to imagine how tough it must have been. In many a small southern town, they must have seemed like visitors from another planet. So we have a lot to thank for them for their courage.
When the dance was over, sometimes it was so scary. We wanted to get out of town as soon as we could, you know, because you never know. There was still crosses burning in the middle of the night when we were moving. We could still see all these things. So there was a price paid for this music.
Well, one time, Ray was riding with Fathead, I think, from Dallas down to Houston. They got stopped.
Ray had a brand new Oldsmobile. This was about 52. He had a 52 Oldsmobile, and I don't think they liked the fact that he was driving around in this brand new car. That's the only reason that I could think of. It was the usual thing, you know, like boy this, boy that, and if you spoke intelligently, you would be considered arrogant or belligerent or whatever.
Maybe just as a joke, I mean, just as a mean joke, they took Fathead in and they left Ray, blind as he was, out on the highway.
This was more than just another humiliation. It dawned on Ray Charles that unless he took control of his life and career, he'd never be the master of his own destiny.
It occurred to me that everybody was saying, hey kid, hey kid. That's something, don't nobody even know my name.
Hey y'all, tell everybody, Ray Charles in town.
For the first time, Ray had a clear vision of where he wanted to be, and a clear idea of how he would get there. Determined to find his own voice, Ray Charles left the Chitlin circuit behind and decided it was time to set up his own band.
I said, well, I can't keep going on this way with people saying, hey, kid. So I got to be myself. I just have to start saying, so if I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it. But if I fail, at least I'll know where I am in life. I'll know whether what I'm doing is any good or not.
Ray still had a great deal to learn before he could move his career onto the next level. Although he'd enjoyed some success in the world of rhythm and blues, the real rewards lay in breaking through to the pop market, something few black artists could achieve. But one of the pioneers of black R&B had managed to cross over to the mainstream. His name was Fats Domino.
Blue Monday, how I hate Blue Monday. Got to work like a slave all day.
Fats was unique, and it was obvious, and everybody appreciated that. He had this fantastic, good feeling about his stuff.
His appeal was in that incredibly infectious dancing beat. And then he was the fat man. He was a jolly fat man. So that there's always a place in show business for the jolly fat man.
Crooners are such a threat to guys. All the ladies are swooning over them, and all the guys are angry. Fats pleased everyone in the house. Mother, grandmother, son, whoever. and he wasn't a threat to anyone.
Because of his relaxed style and his non-threatening attitude, Fats Domino is often remembered as a lovable entertainer. But beneath the surface was a gifted musician, an innovator who brought the rolling piano sound of New Orleans to the mainstream.